Drinking alcohol makes us do some pretty stupid stuff, doesn't it? Yet we return to it and we keep doing it. Why is that? I'm going to break down some of the reasons why I returned to it, some of the reasons and what I did while I was drinking, but also break through and try to help you guys figure out a way out of this mess. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Josh. If you're returning, thank you so much for subscribing. I recently read a news article, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but it really opened my eyes to one of the real reasons why I quit drinking. One of the main reasons why I felt like I needed to put alcohol in the past in my life and not make it something that I used every single day. If you guys have been here for a while, you know that I got a DUI when I was 19. I talk about that in some of my videos, not all of them, but it's something that really was a pivotal point in my life. It didn't stop me from drinking. It stopped me from drinking and driving. But drinking and driving isn't just the only thing that we do that's not a good idea. And choices that we make while we're drinking can leave lasting effects, negative effects in our lives. They can be small things. They can be things that are kind of funny that we laugh at. But at the same time, they can leave lasting things in our life that really hold like change our life, hold a negative, cloud over our heads, and just stick with us for many years to come. And if we want to break free from that, the goal is to just live a life that's alcohol free, or at least question the drinking and question your drinking and see where you're at with it. So where I was at with it, and one of the things that I learned over the course of 5 years being alcohol free is that we make these choices, and drinking is, it's fun and games. Hookup culture, it's all fun and games. You might get into fights, you might struggle with relationships while you're drinking. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal in the moment, but those things build up, and it's a cumulative effect. And the longer we go in this repetitive cycle of just drinking, hangover, anticipate drinking, drink, hangover, uh, guilt and shame and regret about all the things that we say to our loved ones, all the things that we choose to do while we're drinking that are not beneficial for us, even the smallest of little things can build up over time, and it eats away at our lives and our souls. And that's really what I want to get to in this video, is talk about something I read recently about a gentleman that was drunk, needed a ride home, called a coworker. Coworker gave him a ride home, and he made sexual advances at her. She said no, and he continued on doing that. And she reported it to the boss the next day. He got in trouble for it, and may lose his job, may lose his livelihood, and may end up in jail for a long time. And it just got me thinking about, man, it's like, we make these choices. Now, I don't know what led to that. I don't know the truth about what exactly happened. It's in the process, and I likely won't know the outcome anyway. But but regardless of that, it can change a life. Those small little things that and it's not small. I don't mean to make it seem like it's a small thing, because it's not. But that is a major thing. That's like a major life change. So if he's guilty, he's going to spend a long time in prison, up to 20 years. If he's found not guilty, at a minimum, it kind of tarnishes his life. Maybe he loses his job. Maybe he loses his significant other in the process, his home, or whatever. But that's something that, and I look at that, and he's a younger guy, um, in his early 30s, and I think back about my drinking life and the choices I made while I was drinking. Now I never would uh, uh, make that choice in particular, but there was a time in my life where I felt like lonely, and I feel like loneliness and dealing with that and dealing with underlying issues and then using alcohol to kind of cope with all that just makes everything worse. And then we end up making these choices that ultimately, uh, these little choices to actively drink is one of them. We know if we drink and we are stuck in addiction, we know that it's not good for us. If you're like a regular one or two drink person, this video is probably not for you unless you're interested in hearing some stories. Or maybe you have someone in your life that struggles with addiction, and this could help you. Um, but what are some of the things that you guys struggle with? Please put down in the comments so we can get some dialogue going. I'll like your comment, and we can go from there. But the DUI is one thing. When I was 19, that was something that was just I learned a lot through that. But I went back to drinking, and that was really an eye-opening situation for me. Now, I ended up ultimately getting in some more trouble, and it wasn't exactly because of drinking, but the drinking certainly didn't help the situation. And I probably wouldn't have made those choices had I not been drinking. And so, but later on in my life, and I talk about this in some of my other videos as well, my anger and my irritability really started getting the best of me towards the end of my drinking. I'd say like the last 5 years or so were some of the most tumultuous years of my life. Some of the most guilt and shame ridden I ever felt. And it's because of I had a family, I had responsibilities that I just didn't want to face up to a lot of times. I couldn't necessarily deal with it. When we're in addiction and we're wrapped up in it, and you might not even know it if you're addicted. I called mine a habit. I didn't necessarily think it was a full blown addiction until I had some time under my belt. I'd say a few months, and then I started to recognize that, man, it wasn't a habit. It was an addiction. I woke up morning, noon, and night thinking about alcohol, whether it was thinking about the drinking session, being in the drinking session, or being hungover from the drinking session. I was always thinking about alcohol, and that is addiction. That is when it's all consuming. It's all you can think about and obsess over. That is addiction, and it's time to really do a deep dive and a deep introspection of alcohol and the role that it plays in our lives. So we kind of joke around some of the things that we do and our behaviors while we're drinking. We might say like, "Oh man, I can't believe I said that," or "I can't believe I texted that," or "I can't believe I did that." Ha ha ha. And kind of try to laugh it off, make a joke about it, and move on. And a lot of times, yeah, it wasn't serious. But like I said, if we are putting ourselves in a situation in a place where we're setting ourselves up for failure, then it's a problem, and that all starts with alcohol. If you drink like I did, and so 24 hours in a day of a drinker is like torture. You wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning from drinking the night before. You might have a headache, have nausea, uh, clouded thinking, grogginess, and you might get back to sleep, and it might be a few hours, but you get up, you roll out of bed, and you get ready for your day, whatever that might be, or maybe you're too hungover to even get out of bed. But that wasn't me. I was a functional drinker. I would get out of bed. I had responsibilities. I have kids. I had have a job. I have things I had to do, and I still do, but I don't drink, and it's been 5 years, and it's the best choice I ever made. But um, but we get on with our day, and I got on with my day. Uh, I might have to do what I need to do for an hour and go back to bed if I'm not working that day. But if I am working that day, I get up, I do my thing, I get ready, I go to work, and occasionally I would feel really bad, like nauseous or a headache or something. But 9 times out of 10, if I was working and had my stable jobs going, I was, not to the point where I was sick, but I drank to the point where I knew that the alcohol was sweating out of my pores, and that I probably smelled like alcohol. And what a gross feeling that is. You feel, you kind of just feel like sweaty and self-conscious. And that's kind of how my mornings were all the time. And but I get to noon, have lunch, start to feel better, and then start anticipating the afternoon. If I'm working, I'm anticipating being done with work. Can't wait for beer 30, And that's another thing that we make jokes about. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Is it time to drink yet? Is it wine time? Whatever it is that you drink, and we joke about that, and it's like, but we plant this seed in our mind, like, this is life, this is the way that our life is, and we get used to it, accustomed to it. Our bodies adjust to that schedule. Our bodies have to do a lot of compensating for that, and not in a good way. Our sleep is hindered because of alcohol. Our behaviors, our irritabilities are enhanced because of drinking, and all the things that go along with drinking. It's, we adjust, but it's not in a good way. And what I'll talk about later, when we quit drinking and we give it a little bit of time, we start to recognize that our bodies are healing. It's not fun to quit at the beginning. It's hard a lot of times, but that's where having a group of like-minded people comes into place. You can lean on them. You can find other things to do besides drink during that time that you normally would be drinking. Do things that you enjoy. Get out of that space where you usually drink. Don't be around that. Read Quit Lit. Watch videos like this. Join a group. All these things can help us, but I'll get into that a little bit later. Um, but we anticipate what we're going to drink, how much we're going to drink, and it's the afternoon, and we finally get to that drinking session. It's like, oh man, I feel better. All of a sudden, I just feel like all the anxiety is lifting. We have that first drink or two, and you feel good. But that's your body, uh, you know, calming those withdrawal symptoms that you had from drinking. And it's hard to see that when we're in addiction, but that's really what it's doing, is really being. And there was a study in an article I read recently, and I put it under my community, under the posts, and I put the link on there for the article. But it really, it shines a light on the fact that we stay in this repetitive drinking cycle because we are having withdrawal symptoms from the drinking. And once we drink again, we are curbing those withdrawals, and no wonder it feels like a relief. That keeps us in the addiction. Not only does the drinking raise our endorphins, even just the anticipation of drinking raises our endorphins, makes us feel excited, makes us feel joyful, but it's all fake joy. It's not real, authentic joy. Um, and we get to that drinking session, and it's like a dopamine hit, and then we have another drink. It's another hit of dopamine, and before you know it, we're chasing that dopamine rush. So we're having 3, 4, 5, 10 drinks, and we continue to chase that feeling that we had on the first couple. But then we have to deal with the fallout from that. So my drinking session would last the rest of the day or night, depending on when I started drinking. If I wasn't, like I said, if I wasn't working, I was drinking at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I felt like I was justifying my drinking if I could hold off until like 4 or 5, but I didn't typically do that. I mean, I really just would succumb to it earlier in the day, 3 o'clock or so. And man, and I'd start that drinking session. Like I said, it was great. You'd drink for 4 or 5 hours though, and then the blacking out starts. The saying things that you normally wouldn't say starts coming out. Uh, and what therapy taught me when I first quit drinking and getting a therapist that actually specialized in drug and alcohol addiction recovery, which was a huge asset for me, he explained it like this: every drink that you have, you're further kicking in the front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. And it's the part of the brain that makes rational decisions. So the more you drink, the more you kick that in, the less you're able to, hold back on the things that you're thinking. And that ultimately ends up being something that is so, so detrimental, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it when we're in it. We just feel like that's normal. This is like a normal thing. And that's what it's like in a 24-hour cycle, being stuck in addiction, being, you know, a drinker. And I use the terminology alcoholic on some of my videos. And if you all have been following me for a while, but if you're new to the channel, I don't always like refer to. I don't really care about the word alcoholic. I mean, it's a label. I think the medical field is turning to a different terminology, alcohol use disorder, because when you say alcoholic, it kind of attaches a stigma. So I did a poll recently, maybe a month ago, and most people were like, it's a label. I don't really like it, but there's some people that say I'm indifferent, and then there's some people that say, yeah, that's what you have to say. I feel like that's mostly because of Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, where you have to admit that you're an alcoholic or it's not going to stick. You're going to fall right back into drinking at some point, and you're going to relapse. And for me, I don't even, you guys know, if you follow me, that I read the book This Naked Mind, and I joined the community, and it's a book by Annie Grace, How to Control Alcohol. This Naked Mind by Annie Grace is the book. If you want to jot that down, I joined the community, and I started to learn over that period of time, the first few months, that Annie Grace doesn't call them relapses. She calls them slips. She calls them data points. Uh, in fact, it's like either one of those terminologies is fine. A data point is where you actively use a drinking session to your benefit. So instead of just mindlessly going and drinking like we normally do, if you're questioning alcohol and questioning your relationship with alcohol, you make it a point to sit and just drink and notice how you feel after 1, 2, or 3 drinks or more. And you start to notice, because you can't do it when you're in a frame of mind where you're having a good time, because a lot of times the alcohol and having the good time, they start to become intertwined and you can't tell the difference. It's when you have some alcohol free time and you're in those situations that you used to find joy in because you were drinking, you thought that it was the drinking that was enhancing it, when in reality it was actually the event, the meet up with the friend, that was the joy. It wasn't the alcohol, and alcohol really never enhanced that. But if you have a slip or a relapse, make it like a data point and make it a point of emphasis to, be in those situations where you just drink, you don't do anything else, and you just notice how you feel. And I got to a point where I knew that, I could go and drink, but at that point, maybe like 10 days to 2 weeks, I was like, I'm feeling better. And this is the longest I've gone without alcohol in 23 years, since I was 19 years old. At 19, I gave myself 30 days off of alcohol and marijuana. I ultimately didn't return to the marijuana because it caused me problems, uh, paranoia, heart palpitations, and they lasted 24 hours or so. So I was all in on alcohol at that point, and I just went all in. And that was my drug of choice. And I say drug of choice because alcohol is a drug. It's not promoted that way. It's not glorified that way. That's what it is. And it's one of the most heinous drugs there is. You guys know that I considered turning to marijuana, even though I knew that it caused me problems. I still was seeking an escape when I quit drinking for a few years, even. I really considered psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms. I ultimately never turned to those things, and I'm glad that I didn't because I ultimately decided that I didn't need that. I didn't. What I needed to do was embrace my life, embrace my responsibilities, embrace that life is difficult. It's not always difficult, but it's not always easy either. But being alcohol free allows me the ability to be clear minded, have clarity, and differentiate the difference between right and wrong, know what's best for me, and peel off layers that weren't there, when I was drinking because I was just callousing over my issues. I was just, putting a band-aid on what the issues were, never really taking the time to work on them in a real, authentic way. And so that's what it was like as a drinker in a day. And that's really all I wanted to talk about today. I do have a request that you guys hype this video. It's a new feature. You can hype up to 3 videos per month for no charge. It'll help me grow the channel. Also, like and subscribe. Come on this journey with us. It's going to be a great one. I've got a sobriety group on Facebook called Sobriety in the Storm. It's a private group. If you don't feel like commenting on here, or maybe you want to do both, but you can join that community. It's on Facebook, and I'll pin the link in the comments below. And we'll go from there. But I'm glad that you guys are here on this journey with me, and I hope and I pray that you guys find solace in being alcohol free. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk to you on the next one.